Welcome to another episode of Week in One. This is where we remind you of the stories that made headlines this week. I am Zikona Chona. A glimmer of hope in the darkness. Experts say Eskom's latest project may be the light at the end of the dark tunnel. Experimental mini-grids are being tested to help generate electricity. ENCA's Stefan Goosen has the story.
Less of this and more of this is what South Africans are hoping for. On the cards is a new system comprising solar panels and an inverter, backed up by a battery. What's more, it could also boost the existing power grid and possibly allow consumers to make a quick buck. Mini-grids will let neighborhoods and communities generate their own renewable energy. The homes could pool their surplus power and possibly transfer or trade the electricity with each other. The project is currently being tested at the Lyndag Eco Village in Stellenbosch.
Eskom has accepted that renewable energy is pretty much inevitable after resisting it for quite a while. We have 12 million rooftops, and those could all be power stations. So once Eskom's figured out how this could work here, they'll be able to work out how it could be rolled out to other neighborhoods.
Similar projects have already made positive inroads elsewhere in Africa.
In Europe, for example, you have a very dynamic system where I can buy power from the local farmer with a wind turbine in his garden if I want to. In Australia, you have a very dynamic deregulated system. It's been proven and there's lots of precedents. South Africa is just several steps behind.
But how long the experiment will take isn't clear. Until then, South Africans will simply have to stock up on candles. Stefan Goosen, Cape Town.
Another week of inquiries and more bombshells dropped. The Zondo Commission heard that two Zuma relatives are linked to controversial businessman Thoshan Pandey. So says former KwaZulu-Natal Hawks boss Johan Booysen. He testified on suspected corruption between Pandey and police. Aaron Bates reports.
Around 2010-2011, Johan Booysen says he tried to speak to then-President Jacob Zuma. At issue, Edward Zuma's links to Thoshan Pandey. The businessman was investigated over suspected corruption from 2010. The provincial commissioner apparently tried to stop it.
In my view, that was obviously an unlawful instruction.
On orders from the Hawks head, the probe continued in secret. Booysen and his secretary say Edward Zuma then visited.
He started talking about the 15 million rand which I had frozen. So I said to him, but what's your interest in this money? He said to me, no, he's a silent partner with Thoshan Pandey.
Edward Zuma has denied the meeting. Then Booysen headed to Nkandla with a friend who knew the Zumas.
He says, no, the president doesn't want to get involved.
They made a second trip to the homestead.
When we got into my friend's car, he said to me, look, he'd spoken to the president about it, about his son's stories, and we should go and speak to Kolobushe. Kolobushe said, look, he'll speak to Edward to stop his nonsense.
And the nonsense didn't stop there. Pandey and Zuma relative Debo Mzobe shared directorships of two companies. They spoke on the same day policeman Naveen Madhu was nabbed in a sting operation.
I'd never done something like this before.
Booysen handed Madhu a report Pandey reportedly wanted and then pretended to accept a bribe.
I said to him, he must open the suitcase, I want to see the money. And they had a little lock and he opened it and it was packed with notes.
Detectives counted the cash, 1.3 million rand. And after Madhu's arrest, Pandey and Mzobe spoke. The call was intercepted.
Booysen thinks he's a mafia now, you know. Maybe we need to clip him.
In 2012, Booysen was first charged in the Cato Manor death squad case.
There's not an iota of evidence in any of those dockets that firearms were planted. It's pure conjecture on the side of the prosecuting authority.
It returns to court in October, and Booysen's testimony continues. Aaron Bates, Johannesburg.
At the inquiry into the Public Investment Corporation, the former chief financial officer of AYO Technology Solutions says she was ordered to tamper with the company's financials. Nahid Khamaldeen claims she was forced to transfer money into an account of media mogul Iqbal Survey. Survey is the partial owner of AYO. ENCA's Heidi Jokos filed this report.
Nahid Khamaldeen has testified an executive at a holding company asked her to hypothetically inflate AYO Technology Solutions' gross profit margin. This would make it look as if the company's profit was 50 million rand after tax rather than 32 million. But it appears these theoretical results were then submitted as if they were the actual financials.
He queried why the margins were so low, as he was expecting a higher profitability, and asked me to adjust the spreadsheet to reflect the usual margins to show him what the effect on PAT would then be.
These very same results are now being investigated by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Khamaldeen was also asked why millions of rands was paid from AYO's bank accounts to Three Laws Capital owned by Iqbal Survey. She said she was instructed to do so in an attempt to diversify the company's cash holding.
In retrospect, I realized that I erred in making the payments, but did so because Abdullah was adamant that the payments be made. The board subsequently ratified this as an investment with Three Laws Capital, and I signed an investment mandate to this effect.
The Commission has queried the state of corporate governance at AYO after it was revealed another consortium of surveys, Premier Fishing, was used to fund the buying of AYO BEE shares. The inquiries asked the evidence leader to keep an eye on Khamaldeen in case there are any repercussions resulting from her testimony, given she still works for AYO in another capacity. In a statement, AYO denies there would be negative repercussions for employees called to testify at the Commission. Heidi Jokos in Pretoria.
Coming up, ENCA's cameras inside the infamous town of Orania in the Northern Cape.